And we're live. Welcome everybody to the Tuesday, March 21st, 2023 regular Police Commission meeting. Call the meeting to order at 7:05. So, any additions or deletions to the agenda besides the one I'm going to offer up in a minute?
None on mine.
None.
Joe? Okay, I would like to add a closed session to discuss some things that have been going on, and pursuant to the Open Meetings Act 15.268, sections 8A and 8C, I'd like to go into closed session, discuss that. There'll be no action taken, but there's things that the rest, that we've been involved in that the rest of the commission needs to be brought up to date on. So, can I have a motion?
Move to approve the agenda as amended.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, moving right along. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes of the February 21st, 2023 regular Police Commission meeting?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. There are no action items tonight, is that correct? So we've got department updates and discussion items. And I think, Chief, you'll take care of that? I'm sorry, Kathy, I didn't see you sit back there. You always get right behind the podium and it's... Okay,
Hello.
Chief.
A few things, can you guys hear me? A few things to go over on the department updates. You'll see number one is a letter of recognition for Officer King. Just want to tell you about something he did when we had the big ice storm. You guys remember that a couple weeks ago? There's a resident on the island on February 27th that had lives on one of our roads.
Just speak up a little.
Sorry. There was a resident on February 27th during that ice storm we had. She called the police department about her home generator stopped working. She was by herself. She was scared. Officer King went over to the house, amongst all the other calls that they had, and he was able to get her generator going and temporarily fixing the generator. Well, it died again. He went back again, fixed it, and was able to get just giving you an overview, an electrician to come over and mend to it later. But he got the generator going again, and he went back again the same night for a third time. Just making the extra effort to go to this woman's house and get her generator going a third time, and he was able to coordinate an electrician for her. I think that's what this is about, is providing services for the community. So we're just giving him a letter of recognition. It's in our policy for one of the lower ones, but it's still a great job that's done. He went above and beyond for a police officer. He didn't have to do that. We don't normally go out and fix generators, so don't call to have your generator fixed. But for that time and that day and what was going on with the emergency situation on the island, it was a job well done.
Was it someone in the neighborhood that he lived in, or?
No, it was on the other. It's off of Church.
Okay.
That wasn't. He didn't know her. No relation, no contact with them. Just a resident who needed help. So yeah, yep, exactly. And the next thing is building. So we put in through, and we're using the liaison, Mr. Porcerelli, for some building capital improvements. We're asking the township to go over some repairs we need in the station. I can just briefly go over those if you guys are interested, just briefly. This is a joint fire department and police department request. So we have our 3-story tower on the east side of the building. The cement platform has been there. It's one of the original ones. The metal underneath is all corroded and it's starting to cave in a little bit. It's not caving in, but it's starting to give and it needs to be fixed. So we're asking the township to give us some additional funds for that. I don't know if you guys have been by the police department recently, but if you've seen our sign in the front yard of the police department, it's crumbling. It's all cracked. We don't have funding for that, so we're asking the township to give us additional money to fix that. And on top of that, with that, the front parking lot is starting to crumble in some of the parking blocks. So we're asking for some funding to get some of the cement fixed in the front parking lot. And then the gutters that go all the way around the building, there's a metal sleeve that, from what I understand, goes inside the metal gutter. It's all corroded, so if you go by certain doors, it just rains right there. So these are all some capital improvements that we're asking, and those are needs and some of the wants we want. We have the original generator in the building. It runs great. We do the maintenance on it, and I think it's from the 90s, early 1991. It runs great. We run it every week. We have the maintenance on it, but it's just something to keep in the back of our heads that if it goes down, we're being told it's going to take about 6 months to get another one. So we'll have to rent at a day-to-day expense of multiple generators to piggyback together to run the PD. So we have a kind of a plan in place, and Jessica's been working on that. But it's something to keep in mind for the future for capital improvements. This one's not on there, but we're asking the police commit or the board to approve an emergency animal shelter roof replacement. During that same storm I was talking about earlier, a tree limb went and fell through and damaged the shelter roof. It actually punched holes through into the attic and then went into, there's an apartment next door that's attached to it, and it went through the roof into the apartment. It stabbed right into a couch. So we are going to have, with the money that we're getting from the insurance company and some donations, we're going to get the whole roof torn off and repaired. It's at least over 25 years old, 25-year-old roof. If we're going to fix it, if we're going to fix a large portion of it, we might as well just replace the whole thing. So we have funding for that also. So Trustee Porcelli is going to bring that to the board for an emergency approval. So Jessica and Julie worked great together. They got a whole bunch of different bids from companies, and we went with the lowest one. They offered us the best options, fixing the siding also. And then any of the repairs from within in the apartment is going to go to the rec department. That's going to be on them. We're working with them to try to get all this resolved. So, any questions on that?
The whole thing's set up where that lady gave the,
Yes.
all right.
That's
good.
going to be our funding mechanism.
That's fine.
Donations. Yep.
Yep.
And then
Donations.
that's it for the department updates.
Can I?
Yep. Go ahead.
Before you go on to the next, I just got a question. Doug, what we're going to do is, I was going to handle this in the liaison report, but since you're talking about it, just so the rest of the board knows too, we're going to meet, and I've asked Derek to come up with what the township is looking at for their repairs, and I've also asked the fire chief to come up with his, and now I know we've met like 2-3 weeks ago on this. Is it possible, and I know this is going to take some time, and Jessica I know is involved in this, but is it possible that we can get some numbers for each issue? Because when I go in that meeting, I'm going to be asking for a number. I know the bids take a while. Did you start anything yet about getting numbers for 1, 2, 3, 4, for the 5 issues, let's say? Is there anything done, or can
We have bids for the cement. They're older. They're from like the fall.
oh, well, that's still pretty good, just to give me an idea.
And the roof replacement on the fire department side.
Okay, yeah, if we can, not
use-
trying to push you,
No.
when would you be comfortable in getting some numbers so I can go, because I'm gonna obviously advocate
For the roof, we used My Deals. I think you're familiar with the My Deals and the state bid
Yeah.
for the roof. And then
Yeah.
we just got an estimate from a local contractor to get an idea what that would be for the sign in the parking lot. So-
Okay, just so I could have, even if it's approximate numbers, like you said, the fall is good enough. I mean, they're not gonna change that much. So I know when I go into this meeting what I want from, and I'm gonna request from the COVID funds, for the public safety building, both police and fire, which I think is only fair. And then the township's gonna come with their,
Remedy.
we call it, no, repair list. I mean, however you wanna say that.
Okay.
And then we're going to work at it from there, but I'm going to be asking, and I think it's important that, that COVID money that, should pay for it. And that's all I'm going to say
No,
right now.
that's for those, for them to figure out. We're just making the request.
Well, but that's what that is my intention. That's what I'm pushing. I'm not,
Thank you.
when I tell you what I'm pushing, I tell you straight, you know what I mean?
And then
Thanks.
a couple more items. I don't know if you guys remember last meeting I talked about the AT&T FirstNet that we were trying to use for the schools. So Ken and I sat on another meeting with them, a virtual meeting, about the program. We spelled out the problems we found in the meeting with the network. So they kind of countered and said that they're going to try to fix it, and they want us to give them another shot. It's free for us. So if they can fix our cellular problems and give us a better coverage under the FirstNet program, why wouldn't we take that chance with them? So they're going to get back with us on that. Deputy Chief Pound and myself met with 2 of the churches to introduce ourselves and offer our support to the congregations and to the pastors of St. Thomas and the Presbyterian interim pastor, just to meet them and introduce ourselves and say if you guys have any problems with your staff or the members of your church have, and they want to have a discreet way to talk to us, they can go through them and anonymous or whatever, and we can help them out. It's just reaching out to the community. Then I already went through the capital improvement, and then the deer call is concluded, and then they just did it over the month of February from the beginning to the end. So, all right, do you have any questions on any of that?
Did we fill all the permits?
No, they didn't. But the numbers are lower now because the last couple of years they've had higher numbers of permits collected, harvested, until they did a flyover and they saw what the numbers were, and they got 65 deer.
So we did get yeah, I thought you mentioned that to me. We did get a count.
A
An after
rough
count?
count. Those are rough counts. Yes.
Right, but a before or an after?
Before. We didn't do after. Did we? Yeah. So the numbers are down greatly. You can see it in they kind of go into the crash reports. So the stats on that stuff. So I don't want to steal it too much. But any questions on that? Any of that stuff? You got a question? Looks like you got one. No?
No, that's all right.
All right. Thank you.
Evening, gentlemen. You guys have the monthly reports. I'm going to go over some of the key statistics that we have. You'll note that we had over 1,200 911 calls during the month of February. But if you note, a vast majority of those were on 2 days because the 911 system was malfunctioning. So 1,000 calls, 911 calls, were registered in 2 days. We still have to answer the calls and respond if we find a location. So a vast majority of those were just malfunctioning calls coming in. So when you see the numbers, they're accurate. However, only 115 were actual fire or rescue calls. Those were the genuine calls that we responded to during the month.
Those the days of the ice storm?
No, they were not the days
Oh,
of the
how
ice
about
storm.
that?
However, I will tell you that 65 calls were in the 48 hours surrounding the ice storm. So the fire department was extremely busy, and we compliment them on all their calls, whether it's removing a tree from the roadway, assisting on a rescue call, down lines, or what have you. And I'm sure Captain Price is going to talk about it, but the reserves came out on those nights as well to help us. So we were extremely busy during the storms. You'll note that we had nearly 200 traffic stops in the month. However, only 21 traffic citations were issued and 41 notice to appears. So our officers are diligent in making traffic stops. However, they show leniency and courtesy to our residents and don't issue citations unless they're either egregious or they're really warranted. Some of the training programs that we went through in the month, implicit bias, domestic violence, active shooter training, and of course our monthly mutual aid trainings for the hostage negotiation, SWAT, and dive team. The dive team was activated once during the course of the month, and so was the SWAT crisis negotiation team for a situation in Taylor. The Detective Bureau was assigned 5 cases, clearing 2. The details are in of a couple of the cases are inside your report. Animal Control Officer Cordis Redfield fielded 50 animal complaints. She adopted out 1 cat and 1 dog, while returning 3 dogs to their owners that were out at large. Some of the miscellaneous notes that are not in your packet: accreditation process is moving forward. We have policy review and modifications that are taking place. We're also conducting some research to identify the authority where our reserve programs, how the reserve program was established. We went back to, was it 1951, thereabouts? 1953, and we cannot find the mechanism that put them in place. The chief found a reference to them getting permission to purchase coats, but nothing that established a program. We looked under civil defense and some other areas. However, nothing. So we're working with our township attorney to draft an ordinance that gives them the authority to make sure that we have everything covered. But that's exactly what the accreditation process is supposed to do. It's supposed to identify our weaknesses, where we may have a flaw, and shore it up for us. So that's just one example. We submitted a concept of implementation letter to the Border Patrol to continue our involvement with the Operation Stone Garden grant. It's a federal funded grant that allows us to put people out on our vessel for patrols, make sure the border is secure. I had an opportunity to meet with several of their agents today. They're going to help provide us some training for our boat captains to make sure that we're doing our diligence and making sure they're safe on the water when they are patrolling. The only note that I have is for our residents, Lowry is closed at Meridian. So there is no through traffic if you're going northbound Meridian past Grays. So if people are,
Can't go through the Lowry's cut anymore.
you cannot go through Lowry, not at all. So,
Can come up ferry to Meridian.
no, you can,
Open up to
you can go
Sarah.
actually to Marquette.
I'm sorry.
You-
correct, that's what I meant, Marquette.
You can take ferry south on Lowry, take Lowry south from ferry, only up until the point where you hit Marquette. There's a couple residences there. They can make it to their driveways, but beyond that, there's no through traffic. So, I'm sure people are gonna learn.
Can't come from East River up ferry to Meridian.
No.
You could take East River the ferry to Meridian, but you just can't come southbound on Meridian or Lowry.
Right, so if I was coming southbound, I'd turn either left or right on ferry and take one of the river roads.
Absolutely.
That's, okay.
Yeah, we don't want people taking Park Lane just because of the schools, the daycare center, and residential area. So yeah, we prefer people using the river roads to get to their
Like the
destination.
Macomb.
Yeah, yes. If you want to go to Macomb, goes Roselle Parkway, or
gotta
even
be-
going north to Church Road. So that was a change that occurred this morning. There was a push notification put out to make sure people were aware. But again, anybody who's watching, that's going to be closed for the next few months.
Are they replacing that bridge or?
They're just doing some work on it. I think they're just stabilizing it. So, but that's going to be for the next few months.
And there's still no plan to do the Horse Mill Bridge?
Not that I'm aware of. So, and just to note, if people decide to go around the barricades, they're going to be getting citations. They're $165 just to go around the sign. So, it's reserved for emergency vehicles only. So, any questions about the monthly report?
And you want to update that we're aware of the Chicory, the ramp light?
Yeah, I wasn't sure. Yeah, so we're aware that Chicory Light and Parkway is not functioning well. I'm going to get with Wayne County yet again. We put in no less than 6 requests to them in the last several months to make sure the sensor gets changed or what have you. We made a decision today that we're going to ask them to have that as a cycling light, activate at, say, 6 a.m. It's going to stop, just a blinking light, and it's going to stop direction in all four, stop traffic in all 4 directions, cycling through. Just like you would have at Macomb and Meridian or Parkway and Meridian. It's going to be a cycling light. We're going to request it. Just because people are getting stuck there for an egregious amount of time.
Well, there
People
were
are running
homemade
late.
signs there, pull up to this.
Yeah, but you know what? You get a windstorm, you get something,
Oh, yeah.
and it
No, no.
screws the sensor up. So we're gonna make some other recommendations first thing tomorrow morning, just to alleviate some of the headache and the potential crashes that are occurring. So.
And Ken, for that, and don't take this the wrong way. If you already know it, then that's great, but I didn't know. You can actually request from the county your numbers in seconds that you want, and I changed those numerous times.
Yeah.
When it was first put in, we sat and watched it and thought, nah, that's not enough. Now we need 12 more seconds on this side and take away 8 seconds on this side. So, and they did. They said you could request that if you want, so whatever you guys feel is appropriate.
Yeah, because we know that the traffic volume coming up the ramp or coming off Chicory is not nearly, it's what,
Oh, right.
10% maybe of Parkway traffic?
Just in the morning, you're right.
Just in the
And they
morning.
actually can change that.
Yeah.
I don't know if you knew this too, but I had them change Bridge Road in Meridian for the morning.
Yes.
And the commute back, I had the opposite.
Yes, I remember that.
When it
But
was
it's increased-
signaling when the
It's
thing was
increased
closed.
now because of the reroute for West River to go to the ramp.
Yes.
So it's greatly increased. That's,
So, but I mean, you guys can ask for different amount of seconds that you feel you need.
Yeah. Okay.
Good.
Any furtherance? Awesome. Thank you.
if I may add, I'd to make you guys have, Deputy Chief brought up the accreditation process. I know he won't say it, but himself and his team they do it. That's a lot of work involved in that. Rewrites, it's a lot of time spent to get these policies rewritten and get these ordinances. I want to give them the credit for that because that's a lot. They do a great job, and it's just there's a lot more to it than people realize. Rewriting all these policies and getting ordinances made. So
Good.
Good. No, that's this. If I can just say too, and I know I've been beating a dead horse over the years, but I want to personally thank Doug again and Ken because it took me 2 years to rewrite everything, almost 2 years, and it's going to take them another year or so to do the follow-up work to it. And I'm sorry, the others just didn't feel it was that important. These two gentlemen know it's important. And one good thing that you just did, it makes it constitutionally sound what you're doing. When you change something or you do the audit and you find that, we don't have something from 19 whatever we should have had, that makes it constitutionally sound and protects the township on liability and other issues. And you two have taken that, and thank you for at least believing that it is important when others didn't. That's all I'm going to say, but I think you guys, both you need, a thank on that from us.
Okay. Captain.
Good evening. We'll be going over the reserve report for February 2023. The hours for February was 51 hours for reserve hours, 0 hours for cadet hours. In February, we had events. First and foremost, February 2nd, probationary reserve officer Sarah Kelly was added to the unit. So she is underway, starting her training. FTO training will begin, followed by attending the Schoolcraft Reserve Academy starting in July 25th. So she's excited and ready to go. February 4th, reserve officers worked at the Groseal High School to support the cheerleading competition. So we supported with the traffic and then just kind of helped in the area to make sure everything was completed there safely. February 18th, officers worked 1085 detail, vacation home checks, parks business checks, traffic details, and road patrols. On February 23rd, we had reserve call-in for power lines down over roadways. We had a unit that was calling and cover the road closures at Park Lane and Catherine Court. And then on February 27th, we had another call-in for power lines down over roadways, which unit covered road closure at Stenson and Coleman. On February 28th, we also had officers that were out doing 1085s again, which is the vacation home checks and doing the parks business checks, vacation details, and road patrol assignments. For training in February, reserve officers completed a training online, which was the implicit bias training that the department completed. For March events, we did have one event already this month, which was the Rock CF Half Marathon. Just a little bit about that this year. With the weather, it was very cold. There was 1,500 people that signed up to do that run, and 1,300 runners came out to run the half marathon. So it was a great showing of folks. Traffic went really well. There was no issues. I believe everybody on the island was very pleased on how they were able to get to church and the other places that they need to go. But one thing about that CF run. It's founded and led by Emily Schaller, which actually went to school in Groseal, grew up on Groseal, and I believe her family's a little bit involved with some things in the island as well. But the Rock CF Foundation is dedicated to increasing the quality of life of people with cystic fibrosis. With the help of a core group of volunteers, Foundation utilizes the arts, entertainment, fashion, and fitness to support research initiatives and heighten public awareness in the fight against cystic fibrosis. So, great event, great outcome, and definitely the media was out here as well and was very pleased on how it went. So, with that, that's all I have for the month. If there's any questions.
Anyone have any questions?
I
Great
would
job.
like to add that we are at 7 personnel. We do have 1 person that's in background check, so we're continuing to try to add to the unit for manpower.
I just want to say again that, you know, the reserves aid us a lot, you know, because we can't say enough. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Be sure you tell everyone on, you know, the squad.
Thank you.
Okay, Joey, we're down to you.
Yeah, I think I've said enough tonight. We're good on the liaison report.
Okay,
Yeah. Note that, will you?
we're in public comment. Kathy?
Kathy Walker, 26051 Thorpe Court. First of all, on the generator, that was so wonderful. I just got a generator. Took 14 months. So when you said 6 months, good luck. 14 months, you know, but they did a great job. But anyways, that must have made that woman feel so safe. It was wonderful. Anyways, I want to know some stuff about the road patrol. I was told to ask at this meeting.
Who told you?
Well, you know, we went to the board meeting and they, you know, go to the police. Okay, fine. How many shifts are you going to have in a 24-hour period on the road patrol?
Many shifts?
Shifts, you know, like,
We're in 12-hour shifts.
so there's 2 shifts.
2 platoons. Yeah, we call them platoons.
Platoons, thank you. And how many people are in each platoon?
There's, well, including dispatchers, that'd be 4, and then one of them has 3.
So you've got 8 people on the road or 6 people on the road?
On any one platoon that's on, it'd be 3 on the road and 1 dispatcher.
So you have 3 cars on the road.
Correct. And then one of the platoons has 2 cars and 1 dispatcher. That's a day shift platoon.
So that kind of rotates the
That's the way it's set.
okay,
So, yeah.
because it's in your contract or something? I was supposed to get a copy. I haven't gotten it yet, but I'll remind the gentleman who told me he'd give it to me. Okay, so you've got 1 less person then than you used to have on the road?
Our staffing has fluctuated throughout over the years, but we had 24 at one point in the last year, and now we have 23.
Is there a reason why we went to 23?
John Ferguson from DEA retired.
Did you request to fill the position?
No.
Do you think you need it?
We're under some heavy budgetary restraints.
With $750,000 of COVID money sitting there?
I'm not in charge of the township budget.
I
so,
understand.
Kathy, I'm just,
Did you ask
Kathy,
for?
to also properly respond.
What?
We are in discussions right now.
Good.
With the township supervisor and the township manager and the finance department.
Let me ask you,
Everything else, so, you know, that's
that's
in a
great.
state of flux at this point.
That, terrific. Now, the one last thing, I know you used to have a 3-minute call, you get to the place in 3 minutes?
response time?
Yes.
Okay.
Is that correct? It used
I
to be.
don't know what it is as of right now. I don't
That's
know
what
it
I'm
is.
kind of curious, because would this affect the response time in that patrol group that only has, 2 people?
I think there's, depending on, I'm not trying to skate the question.
No,
but it all
no, I
depends
know.
where they're located, what the scenario is, and if they have anything going. There's a lot of factors involved in that.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
My thing is safety. I'm just like, I beat a dead horse, because I know how wonderful you guys were with my husband, and I want everybody to have the same service. That's just to me. So I was just wondering that. So you haven't lowered the safety standards, is what you're telling me.
I don't believe so.
Okay, that's what I needed to know. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And you're welcome anytime. Okay. Wes or Ken, Doug, Jessica, anything you want to say? Anyone from the commission have any questions that we need to discuss before we adjourn to close session? So I'd like a motion to adjourn and to go into closed session. If I could get one.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, let's take a few minutes to go wash our hands. And Ken, would you tell Mike?